Well, good morning, folks. So, we're going to be doing a tutorial today, and full transparency, this will be my third time filming this because every time I went to film it, I learned new stuff and needed to do it again. And this is the case again. So I'll be splicing in some previous footage. We don't actually need to do the um, the laser engraving and cutting as part of this because I can just cut that previous stuff in. It's fine to use. But I just need to show you how to build this project. So what we're going to be doing is I need to build a jig for business cards, like the metal business cards. So I need something where I can lift it up, flip it over, and have it go back in the same space, in same spot. And I don't want to just waste all the material that is being cut out of it. So I'm making some keychains out of it and kind of special ones. So let me just give you a quick preview. Okay, so this is the part that's going to hold all the cards. Now this took a lot of messing around to get the size just right. Trying to adjust for the kerf, and it was either too much or too little. So I finally got that right. Now that's something you're going to have to determine for your laser, because even if you got the identical one I do, it can still do stuff a little differently, which is why we always need to do the testing. And then there's the backer board for that. So these go together, and you see those little dark spots. Those are engravings. That's just enough to be able to get your fingernail in there underneath the card to lift it up and flip it. So I'll show you how we actually glue that together and everything in a little bit. So these are what were cut out of the middle. So I added some little holes to turn these into keychains. And I also did some engraving, both sides. And this is like half the depth on each side for these. These are NFC tags. So the nice thing about the NFC tags is a person can program in all their information, like all their contact stuff, and then any modern smartphone that uses near field communications or NFC, you can just tap their phone and it'll automatically bring up all your contact information that you programmed into it, and then they can just accept it. So, and then once I make these up, and then I can uh, customize them and engrave them. I could even resize them, and because I made the template, these came from that template, so I could actually put these back in the template and recut them smaller if we think these are too big, which I may do. If I do that, then I might include that in a vlog or something as opposed to a full-blown tutorial. So let's get started. Okay, so let's go to my tutorial layout here. So here's, hang on just a second. Okay, I needed to fire up my highlighter so that you can see where I'm pointing at stuff here. So first thing I'm going to do is select a new project. Now I need to go up to device and connect to the laser. So I'll be doing this on Wi-Fi. Oh, I got to turn the laser on, I guess. Hang on. Okay, so we'll hit refresh. All right, so this is a piece of 12 by 12 basswood. It's 3 millimeter, although I measured the thickness and it's actually 2.66 millimeters thick. So all of my measurements are based on that, like for sorry, not the measurements, the settings that I use for cutting and engraving. Okay, now because the size had to be so exact and I did all this trial and error, I'm just going to import the one that I'm working with here. And then I'll set it off to the side and I'll show you how I built it and then how we batched it. Um, so I'm going to import. This is my key tag jig. Oh, it opened up a new project. So we'll close that other tab. Oh, I thought I had saved just the one by itself. So there's actually multiple layers here. So let's talk about how I actually uh, have this functioning. No, this is it. Oh, we have to connect. Okay. Yeah, I guess you have to reconnect on each new tab because you could be firing up multiple lasers. So this software will control multiple machines if you have them. So I'm actually going to just get rid of these. Okay, so we'll move this over to here and let's break this down a little bit. We'll go into the layers and so you'll see this ellipse. So this little one up here, this is actually set to do a fill engrave and I've got power 55%, speed 205, passes 1, line density 120. And that's about 0.5 of a millimeter in depth that it does on this material. And this is the same, basically the same settings. And then the little keychain hole cutout, the cut settings for that is 40 for power, 40% per power, 10 millimeters per second speed, and 1 pass. So it completes reasonably fast. Once I got everything kind of figured out how to get it all to work well. So what I discovered in my travels in learning all this stuff is that the order that these are in is the order they're going to get processed in. So when you want your cuts coming after your engravings, it's going to automatically create these different colors, and then you can go in and set these up the way you want them. You could even select one and tell it not to, or sorry, you can tell it just to ignore it. So once I've got all these laid out, then you just decide what you're going to do for which sheet. Now, what I did is I actually laid 2 sheets one on top of the other. I put in one first, taped it down, and then laid another one and taped it in the identical same spot, just right over top. And then what I did is I selected everything except what I want to do on that first sheet. So now I can tell it to ignore for processing. And I verified that I had the right ones by looking at this list on the left. So you can, once you've got them selected, it shows them as highlighted. I really wish you could multiple select from this right here. So WeCreat, if you're listening, it would be great if I could either select the items here individually and add multiple ones to my selection by, like the shift click or control click, rather than having to do it out here. Because sometimes it's just easier to handle it on this list here. In any case, so I set those to ignore, and then I can go ahead and run it. When that sheet's done, then I come back in, make sure those are selected, turn that back off, and then I take this ellipse up here And see, it's set to ignore, so it wouldn't have actually done anything. So you have to always double check before you go to process and run anything. So what we can do is we can select, if I click on that, it selects everything in that layer, and then I can change it for all of them at the same time, right? So I can go over here, ignore processing, and then I can go over here and I have to do it individually, which can be kind of tedious when you batch this out into an array. Maybe I'm using the wrong terms here, but when you create an array out of the single object set of objects here, um, it can get a little tedious, but it's still doable. Um, okay, so we'll go back and we'll turn that checkbox off. Make sure that one's set properly, and then you can go ahead and do your next sheet. So now I'll show you how I do the array here. What I discovered is that you can array the entire group of objects rather than having to do them each individually. I could never get everything to line up on the different rows. When I went to put it together, everything was shifted off a little bit. Couldn't quite get it perfectly centered. But by selecting everything together and then turning that into an array, then you have no issues like that. Everything will be absolutely identical. So we're going to move it to a starting position. I'm going to move it really close to the edge. Not too close, but it needs to be close enough that when I create the array, it's array creation, then we'll do 5 columns, and then we need to space them. So I give it a spacing of 5. And then we want 3 rows, and we're going to give that a spacing of 3. No, let's try 4. Yeah, that should be pretty good. So hit confirm. Now you'll see why I would love to be able to just select stuff in here. So I had to do like a little maintenance in here to make it easier for me to deal with all this. So I took all these round ones and I moved them or got them lower down. So I just basically took all these ellipses one by one that I want in one section and I just dragged them up. So when you're doing a big array, this can get a little a little tedious to do it, but it doesn't take long. As you can see, it's quick enough. But this is why I would like to be able to just select multiple in here and not over here. Much easier. Okay, just about done. Oh no. Okay, I think that's got them all. Yeah, that's got them all. So then, because you can't just select them all here with like a shift click, then I have to go in one at a time and make sure these are all checked. Now, because we started with that one checked, we don't have to worry about it for the first time, but when we need to actually engrave these, then we have to go through one by one on all of these and change them, or we can select them out here. So if I click right there, did I get the right one? Oh, I got to click off to the edge here. So click. Okay, so you can see it grabbed it there. So I just kind of repeat that. keep selecting them all. And then you could turn that off of ignore. And then we would have to go through and do all these, deselect. So we'd have to go through and select all these. Now we don't have to go select the other ones because they're in, we can select the whole group all at once. Okay, so we'll verify, make sure these are all highlighted. Yep. So then we can click over here to ignore for processing. And then I can come here, just click on the layer and ignore for processing. And then you can go ahead and engrave your first piece. And then we basically just reverse the process. So I would come back in here and turn that back off, and then I'd have to go through and reselect all these again. Now there may be another way to do this that's easier, but I've only been using this software for like 4 days. So, and it looks like we missed one. Might be that first one. Yep. So we can turn no. See, now I didn't realize all that other stuff was selected too. Not sure how that happened. But that's fine. So those are the only ones not selected. So I can change that to, or sorry, I can release that. And then we have to come in and select those one at a time. But we'll come down. Being that this was all selected, we were able to turn all the ignore on for that. Oops, sorry. And then of course you would go back up here. And go through and just manually select all these and make sure they're turned on. So that's basically the gist of it. And if you've already been doing some laser engraving, I don't need to take you through how to actually start the job, but we can go through the motions here. So let me get rid of this side panel. If I'm going to save what I've done, then I'm going to do that now. And then we're going to go into refresh, just to be sure. And then autofocus. Now autofocus will trigger a refresh. So I guess that first refresh was kind of unnecessary. But maybe that because I just refreshed it, maybe it won't do that again. We'll see. Oh, I guess it does refresh again. So I really didn't need to do that first. Oh, yeah, I'm still learning this stuff, guys. But you know, I'm kind of tech minded, so I've been able to learn this stuff fairly quickly. And I know a lot of you guys out there that are trying to get into this, you're pretty new at this, and tech stuff is a little more of a challenge. So now, noticing it's coming off on the edge here, we've got two choices. We can move the material a tiny bit because it's actually looks like it's a little bit crooked. The other thing is we can just select everything and then move it a little bit. So, but probably better just to straighten the material so that because you're going to want a nice even edge around all this stuff. So once it's all ready to go, then we would hit start and well, actually, let me take you through that. I can always cancel it. So let's let it do its start thing. Okay, so when this comes up, you want to run framing to make sure it's going to be doing the right stuff. And then you can hit send once you're sure, and then you hit the button, of course, but we're going to cancel. Alrighty, so we'll go on to the next bit here. We're going to switch off the computer onto my other camera, and we'll go ahead and assemble this. And you know, I was a little wasn't sure exactly how I was going to glue it. I've got different options here, but I think I'm going to try the crazy glue. I just won't use the activator because it'll take a little time to get it all in there. So I'll move over to the other camera and get it set up, and we'll glue these up and assemble them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue on this. So I'm going to go with the Universal Super Glue, the thick. Oh, I should lay down. No, that's fine. This is just a work table. Oh, I've got some little ends for this. So I don't need it quite so thin. Okay. Okay, so we got that tip installed. Now we're just going to go around and start gluing. Just put a thin line of glue here. There we go. I don't know, this might dry too fast, but I got to try and work quickly here. I'll hold this down a little bit. I just hope this glue isn't too dry. Okay. So I'm just going to sit my rotary pearl on there. Now it's still wrapped in plastic, so if there is a little glue on there and sticks, the plastic will just rip off, and then I can sand it away. Okay, so while that's setting for a few minutes, well, might have to put a little more weights on here. Okay, looks like everything's held down pretty good. So let's talk about our keychains. Now there is a little app. There's a free app available. If I remember, I'll put it in the description. And you use that app to program these. So we're just going to put that in there. And I'm going to lay down some glue. Make sure we get some near the edges. A couple dabs here and there. Now you'll feel it when it locks down over the other side of that NFT tag. And then we can just straighten up the edges. Oh, before the glue sets. Okay. Now we're just going to hold it. Okay, I'll stick my hammer on it here. Should be enough weight. So I just blew a little air through this nozzle so that I don't waste it. I'm cheap that way. So you can see this is actually a pretty efficient use of material. I got my jig and I'm able to make some NFC keychains. And I'll actually do a screen recording of me programming the NFC, and we'll add that on at the end of the video so you can get an idea of how easy that is to do. And these are the metal business cards that fit in these little spots. Yeah, I had a heck of a time getting the sizing just right on those. I tried adjusting for the kerf, you know, just by using the 0.08 spot size, but that wasn't enough. So I've got all kinds of. I even took one of my test pieces. I needed one final test to make sure everything was done just right. So I cut up my my testing burns that I did. Okay, let's see if this is glued now. Okay, now I am seeing some gaps here, but just on this last corner, I think. Now that I could re-glue. So I got a spot there, right there I got to touch up. Yeah, so I got that corner. All right, so I'm going to use the thin to get in there. Use that same little nozzle. I hope this is focusing. Hold that down. Now I got a little gap here. Need to close up. Oh, that's going to glue me to the table. I got to wipe that. Okay, let's see how our keychain's done here. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So there is some very slight roughness, and that's, or unevenness here, just a hair. That's fine. I got it a little out of kilter, but we can sand that down. So I'll probably just use some 120 grit. Oh, look, this is open a little bit. Oh, looks like we did miss a spot. Now these little metal clips are pretty handy for stuff like this. I just went to my local stationery store and picked some up. So we'll let that set. And then when I've glued a bunch of these up, I can go ahead and sand the edges and even it all up. Yeah, I definitely have to practice a lot more with this crazy glue stuff. So let's see how we're doing over here. Oh, found one more spot. I could just use one of these clips. Of course, I got them in different sizes. These are the smaller ones for this kind of stuff. There we go. So a little finishing work, and then we've got something that we can engrave later. And because they were cut out of here, they'll fit right into the jig to do that. Yeah, we got everything. So let's give it a quick test here. See that business card just fits in there, and there's just a hair of play, which is about what you want. It's close enough for when I'm flipping them over. And there's that little groove that I engraved under there to get your fingernail in. So these are going to be absolutely perfect. So I'll be able to batch out business cards, and now I've got all these keychains that I can put together. All right, so let's move on to the programming the NFC stuff. Okay, first let's see what happens when we've got a NFC tag set up to do something. So I tapped it to the back of my phone at the top. And we can tap on that, little window pops up. So here we go. Now I created a cue card, or not a, well, I created a QR code with VCard. It's not a true VCard, but it serves our purposes. I've got some technical issues to work out doing an actual VCard, but I don't have time for that today. Okay, so it's qr-generator.ai, and when you go to create a new card, oops, wrong thing there. So you're able to come in and you can, we're going to go actually back to kind of where you start at. So it tells you you're doing a QR code, and you are, but it's also creating the virtual card to go with it. So you can put in your logo and fill in all your details and your phone numbers and your social media, all that kind of stuff, and then you create your card. And you can set up your welcome screen, like you saw that logo that came up while it was waiting for the rest of it to load. So that's what that's about. And once you've made that and saved it, it will give you a link. If you want to be able to edit it, then you're going to need to pay $1 US, and that gives you 14 days to go in and make changes, fine tune it, whatever you're going to do with it. And then after that, you can't edit it anymore, unless you buy like a year subscription, but I don't think it's worth it. Now just make sure that you do not set a password, otherwise when somebody tries to view your card off of your NFC tag, then it's going to ask for a password. So do not use the password. So once you've created that and you've got your link, then you need a program called NFC Tools, which you can get from the App Store. Now their Android makes a tool as well, NFC tool, so you can download it for Android. I don't have a way to show you how to do it on Android, but there are videos I've seen on YouTube for that. So what you would do is you would go right. Now I've already got the information in here, but let's actually start over, because some of the information I don't need to have in there. I was just kind of experimenting. So I'm actually going to go to Other, and I'm going to erase the tag so that we're starting from a fresh tag. So I'm basically just holding it to the back of the phone at the top. So we erased it, and now if we go to write it, we'll, oh, it left this stuff in here, but I'm going to erase it as if we were starting from a fresh card. So we're going to add a record, and then I'm just going to go down to URL, and I'm going to put that URL in here that we've got. So I just pasted that in there, and now I'm going to hit the enter key and hit the accept button, and now you see that's all we got in there. So now the third option there is write. It's just 23 bytes. So we're going to write that, and then once again we're going to scan the QR code. Oh, hang on, let's try that again. And then we can open it in our browser.